See, this is Black Light. And what I started to say was, see, the black man is too individualistic minded, short-sighted, and his attention span is short. He don't want to remember how his roots was here in America. He don't want to remember how technology always was played on him, and it ain't stopped. It's happening today because he wants to be a part of this system. Even though he see that this system ain't right, he see it's corrupt, he just can't help himself. Let's check it out.
Trump pardoned a number of folks, including Michael Milken, and I love all his drain the swamp, but he pardoned all these corrupt individuals, including former Illinois Governor Ralph Blagojevich. Now, here's what's interesting. All of these people, Trump and all the rest of the other people, said, you know what, it was just unfair. Rob Blagojevich got sentenced to 14 years. In fact, Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot gave an interview where she said that that likely was the longest ever for a political corruption. Well, that's actually not true. Also, Angela Stanton, Scott's buddy right there, who's on, of course, the show. She also had her felony conviction. She was pardoned as well. She, of course, is the adopted daughter of Alveda King, who, of course, is a big-time Trump supporter. But Mayor Lightfoot was wrong, because the reality is Kwame Kilpatrick, former mayor of Detroit, got 28 years in prison. So the question is this here, and I've been hearing for the last year that that folks out of Detroit have been really pushing, not the last 2 years, pushing Trump on partnering or commuting Kwame Kilpatrick. Do you think Trump will try to use that as a play for black folks in Detroit? Absolutely.
So we're going to get back to the interview. We left off when Kwame was getting ready to speak about Mayor Young. The title of this video that I present to you today says that Michigan is a swampland for the King Trump, and Kwame is like a pond, see. Even Obama didn't, he bypassed, Brother Kwame. So y'all ain't even up on the game yet. So y'all keep doing the same, falling for the same tricks over and over again. The game don't change, just the name. So let's pick up where we left off.
How much of an influence was Coleman Young on you, being a young, black guy out of Detroit who ended up holding public office like that? At any time, go ahead, bro. I want to hear it.
He was our hero, brother. There's no question about it. There's no better representation of black manhood that we saw on television and in the streets. He was a mayor that connected the people from, the corporate structures in the city of Detroit, General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler. And also we come right up on Linwood and Dexter. I won a contest at my elementary school. We had this Black Studies contest. We had to name the most black inventors. And the person who won at our school, you got a chance to go meet Coleman Young. So I was 10 years old. First time I met him, they took us to his house. And a meeting that probably lasted about 1 minute or 2 minutes. I mean, it was 30 minutes to me. I decided that day that I was going to be mayor of the city of Detroit. From 10 years old, I was telling everybody that was my dream job, to be mayor of the city of Detroit. I shook his hand. He told me I could be whatever I want to be, and Coleman Young said it, and I said, okay, that's what it is. So Coleman was on TV. Yeah, I know people probably haven't heard much about him, but he was the first person on TV to really challenge aggressively with people with, racist attitudes and racist statements about the city of Detroit. Detroit was always the butt of a lot of jokes for suburban areas. And just so people don't know about Detroit, Detroit is an 85% African-American city surrounded by 85% white suburbs. And so it's always been this contention between the city and the suburbs. The city is Democrat, the suburbs are Republican. It's white, black, it's all kind of racial tension. There have been 3 race riots in the history of that development. 1948 and 67 were the biggest ones. The movie just came out, Detroit, where it talks about the 67 riots. But it was always this tension, and whoever is mayor of Detroit represents black folks, and whoever was the county executive represented quote-unquote white folks. And so Coleman was our black manhood, so he'd get on TV. He was using all kind of language. All the cuss words, Coleman used them on TV, but he was also brilliant, understood how to put together deals to help the city of Detroit prosper at a time where population was leaving. He was also very close to, at that time, to President Jimmy Carter, was able to do significant advancement with housing and this UDAG grant, which was able to build convention centers and everything. When people said the city was dying and people were moving out, he saved that town. And he was the first person to come with the casino idea. One that when I came in, I ended up building 3 land-based casinos, which were 3 of the first hotels in the city since 1989,
right.
since he left. And so, we paid big homage to Coleman Young. He took a lot of bruises and battered on behalf of the people of the city of Detroit. And he was public enemy #1 before I was. And so I give him great credit. I actually I'll say this too, I went over Coleman Young's house in 1996, right before he passed away. I went over there with my mother, and he couldn't even breathe. He was on a breathing machine. He was real paranoid. The feds had bugged his apartment, bugged his house. He'd been through so much. And I just saw a really worn and beaten man, and I left out of there. I always wanted to be mayor, but I left out of there saying I won't be like that. And, to see kind of the same thing, the same kind of strategy that was used against him, really to separate him from the people. And it was used exactly the same on me. The devil's tricks are not new. And so it was painful to see him then, but it's also, I've sat in a prison cell and really reflected on seeing him. He was in a different kind of bondage. And so I just give him big credit, because he stood up when nobody was standing with him. And ultimately, he got his flowers and his roses and his respect and his due when he was dead. And, I don't like that part of how we do things as a community. We should have got him when he was alive.
Right. One thing about the definition of penitentiary derives from the word penitentiary comes from penitent reflection, correct?
Yes.
When you reflect and when you have time by yourself, like you said, you had a chance to look over some of the things that happened to Coleman Young and compare it to what happened to you. When you in your when you in your quietest moments and you replay everything that happened, do you feel that there was things that you could have did different?
Absolutely. I made some incredibly stupid decisions, man. I was immature in one respect and just plain old sinful and stupid in another. One thing is, and I tell all the brothers out there, and I know this is not popular to say, but man, go home. That sin of adultery, that kind of that manipulation, the lying, the taking of your time, your focus being divided, the double-mindedness that it takes to have 2, 3 women when you got the wife and kids at home. It really zaps your ability to be as creative and as powerful as you can be. And that's what happened to me first. Stepping out on my wife was the worst thing I did. And, I kick myself all the time because I see the damage that it caused to not only my wife, but my family, my children, the city. And it was space for people to come in and hate me and hate our town, to really come in and start manipulating folks into a real hateful and evil atmosphere. But I did that. And so I should have made a different decision there. Also with hiring certain people. We got this kind of loyalty model from the hood that really don't work in business.
Right.
If a person is your dude, you'll do. You just ride with them. And, a lot of people in the streets, they get killed riding with that dude.
Right.
And in the neighborhood is the same in the boardroom and in the city hall. You have to recognize people for the talent they have, properly place them in position. And if they're not doing the job that you hired them for, you got to get them out of there.
the first mistake Kwame made was trusting in them Caucasians. See, he only made moves that the Caucasian made before him. They get their buddies in, you know, they be corrupt from Jump Street. They get their buddies in position so they could control certain things in the city and certain people. But Kwame, by him being immature, naive to the Caucasians' motives for getting him in there in the beginning, he just and his people don't, you know, they should have knew better. And I say this about Ron Martin and all the rest of the brothers and sisters who want to get into the political arena. Don't do it. You need to come out. Because there's brothers like me. There's a lot of brothers like me who remember the roots on how America got started. It got started by devils. It's corrupt. Yaqub's grafted devil was born in technology. He can't do it no better because that's his nature. But it's not the black man's nature. Don't follow after them. He who lay down with dogs will come up with fleas. Never trust a pale face and a smile. We're going to continue this on another day. It's getting very close to that time. I know y'all going to run out there and vote. I'm telling you, the whole world won't fall apart because you don't vote. Your vote don't count anyway. They just checking to see if their technology got a hold to you. You keep doing the same thing over and over again. They want to see can they do it one more time. This is Black Light. Sugar and sugar, soft and salt is salt. If you didn't get off, it ain't my fault.